Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rackside Chat with industry expert. In today's episode, we are talking to Andrew Jordan, AI solution leader from Dell Technologies, to uncover how Dell is simplifying AI adoption for businesses and enterprises and the next industrial revolution in the digital age. I am Ruban Kanapathippillai, the SVP of System and Solution at ASA Computer Racklive. Welcome, Andrew. Thank you for joining us at Rackside Chat.
Ruben, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today and to talk to all of our customers together about what Dell and ASA are doing in the generative AI space, how our customers are adopting it, and what advice we can give them as they continue to move forward.
Absolutely, Andrew. And ASA has been Dell's platinum partner for many years, and we are so happy to continue to work together as you guys bring in this new technology. So, Andrew, before we start into the deep dive into the content, can you give some little bit background about yourself? How did you end up in this AI role at Dell?
Sure. Yeah, happy to, and happy to be here. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado, but I know that I'll be coming to see you guys here shortly next time I'm out in the California area. So I joined Dell's AI practice just last year. So I'm fairly new to Dell, but not new to machine learning or artificial intelligence in general. I've spent over a decade in the field. Prior to joining Dell, I spent 5 years at Amazon at AWS, where my primary role was working with the large telcos to plan and build their radio networks using generative AI technology, and then to optimize the data flow and the packet core workloads associated with making our mobile phones work. So AI is able to help analyze everything from the radio sites all the way to the centralized workloads and make sure that things are running at a fully optimized schedule as well as efficiently. Before that, I spent 5 years at SAS, which is one of the original analytics, big data, machine learning providers out of North Carolina. And my main focus there was working with pharmaceutical companies to use machine learning and high performance compute clusters for genomic sequencing and cancer research. Again, Gen AI is super exciting, the new advent of technology of what we can do with GPUs and large language models. And happy to talk further today about some of the use cases we're seeing across industries and how we can get started with customers.
That is very amazing, because if you look at our Racklive ASA Live, as well as our CTO, he used to run Yahoo data center with Verizon, and we had done a lot of telco work at the edge, and those areas are the low-hanging fruit. And the second area you are talking about, the life sciences and all that, there is so much generative AI can be applied. So I think we are going to have a very interesting discussion today. So let's start to get into our conversation from small to medium enterprises. The reason I bring up small to medium enterprises, if you look at the large one, that the big 7 or big 5, they have spending billions of dollars building infrastructure, doing things and all that. But the next level of changes come from these small to medium enterprises. How does Dell see the adoption of AI, and what are the roadblocks for these industries?
Sure. Yeah, I think you're spot on, Ruben. The first wave of adoption that we saw here was certainly the large cloud providers, the large software as a service providers, and tier 2 CSPs coming to us for GPU and large language model capable infrastructure to support these workloads that they would be delivering to their customers. Now we're really seeing the individual enterprise customers come to us on the advent of this technology for 3 main reasons. Those would probably be in order: performance, security, and cost. And so what we see very commonly is that an organization with anywhere from several hundred to several thousand employees will come to us and they'll say, hey, we have an idea of what we want to use generative AI for. We've actually tried it out in a variety of settings. Maybe we have a POC going on in the cloud, but we're very worried about productionalizing that workload under the current deployment model. We're worried about security challenges, because I think we've all heard about model hallucinations and how it takes a lot of your own organization's data to make the large language models that power AI to be more accurate and more prescriptive, given the context of the problem that you're trying to solve. and also coming to us for costs, right? They're building these investments off of a business case. And when they have an idea of the amount of money that it's going to save them or make them in terms of automation or optimization, it's very hard to build that business case with the OpEx model of the cloud that charges you per word or per token or pure GPU hour as you consume this. So that's why we're really excited to work with ASA here, not only around the defined use cases and infrastructure that customers need to run these models, but to give them a hard business value and business case to productionalizing these workloads moving forward.
I think you hit it right there, because a lot of people talk about all these generative AI, then they, and at the board level, at the executive level, they want to be involved and they want to do that. But what you are talking about is, how do you improve the productivity of the existing employees? How do you create value for the company is going to be the key, the return of investment point of view. So if you look at it, what industries are being transformed by AI? I know a lot of them, but there could be a merit of so many of these. And how does Dell is addressing the unique challenges each of these opportunities presents?
Sure. Yeah, no, you're totally right. So first of all, organizations of all sizes and industries are adopting AI, right? And everybody's seeming to start with some sort of a chat bot, maybe for internal employees to ask HR or about operating procedures, or even to go a step forward and automate customer service. But I think what I see this year that's most exciting is that hospitals, banks and insurance companies and manufacturing organizations are really starting to implement these systems at scale. So a healthcare provider might be using generative AI to help automate the triage or the intake of a patient, but they also may be using it to help predict readmissions and make sure that their patients are safe during their stay at the hospital. And then furthermore, the doctors are using it to take that first glance at a radiology scan. So whether it's an MRI or a CAT scan, there's a lot that computer vision and generative AI can do to tell if this is a compound fracture or a more minor fracture, and highlight the area of an injury. And then it sends those results to the doctor so that they can do the final sign off. So it's giving doctors, from what we see, sometimes 60 to 70% more time to spend with patients, because they're spending less time looking at scans and charts. At a bank or an insurance company, it's all about automating the internal processes as much as possible. So later on today, we'll talk a little bit about agentic AI and where this industry is going. But AI is able to do a lot when it comes to pulling data from different sources, giving us a single threaded contextual insight, and then a plan of action on how to go execute those next steps as efficiently as possible. And then a manufacturing line, very similar to some of the technology we've talked about, they're using those same capabilities to solve different use cases. And I think the biggest ones we would see would be generative AI plus computer vision for quality assurance, right? Making sure that the hoses and the parts and the widgets are 100% quality before we kit them and ship them to customers, as well as pulling all of the data off of different IoT devices on the production line to make sure that we're doing predictive maintenance in both an efficient and a cost-effective way. So hopefully that gets us started talking about use cases. But I think it's every day I'm talking to a customer, and many times it's with ASA here about a new use case that we're whiteboarding out and building a solution for.
Yeah, I think simply talking about this one, US enterprises always look for efficiency, and you increase the productivity to get the top line as well as bottom line improve. So it is going to be helping industries, and it could be small mom and pop shop. Like one other thing we are looking at is that dental offices, medical offices, they have so much data. How do they can harness those data and go with it, and looking at it. So I'm so thrilled to work together with Dell on some of them, because Dell has this, big initiative. So one of them is Dell's AI Factory. You guys now came with the really right name. You talked about how do you automate industries, how do you automate manufacturing and various things, but you guys named it in a right way, Dell's AI Factory. Can you give the key components of it and why that is important?
Sure. So much like a regular factory that's turning raw goods into finished projects, a Dell AI factory is turning raw data and data from different sources into actionable insights and decisions that customers can implement to make their businesses more efficient or increase the services they're providing to their customers. So the Dell AI factory is different from traditional Dell products like a PC or a server, in that it is a full stack solution. So comes pre-integrated as a validated design between us and our ecosystem partners. It's hardware, software, services, and it's built with the specific use case and the data sources in mind. And so, one of the things that we like to say is that we are able to pick and choose the right infrastructure from all of our Dell portfolio, everything from a ruggedized small single node edge server all the way up to a large 32 node, 8-way GPU cluster that can take down all of the chatbot questions from an entire organization. But we're also able to make the right prescriptive approach when it comes to recommending a large language model, recommending how you bring your own data into that large language model to make it more accurate, and then as well as bring a service offering of over-the-top applications for customers that want that easy button feel from a management perspective. So one of the things that's new about the Dell AI Factory for a lot of our customers is that this is very similar to what you would get from a cloud provider or a hyperscaler, in the sense of everything comes with it. It's fully built out. The only difference is that it does live on your premise. So in terms of performance and security, especially in conjunction with ASA, security and latency for these workloads is much increased and cost is much decreased.
I think that IT department, they don't have the infrastructure people anymore. So adding this solution on top of it, and the second part of it, you spoke about the data. Data is the goal here. How do you get that data and work through that process of it? I think you guys are doing the right thing by combining, providing solution and helping the data migrate into the system and able to run on those part of it. And if you look at it, how can a business, now I'm looking at it, we are trying to always, as ASA, we are very customer centric. We don't sell to customers if they don't need a system, but then we collaborate with them, find right system, right solution, and integrate them and sell it to them. So how can business identify and prioritize the right AI use cases for their operations? What do you think?
Sure. So that's a great question. And it's something that we talk to customers about all the time, right? A lot of times we're coming to a customer where they have an idea of one or two use cases, or in some cases, they're asking us to be the thought leader and to see what we see implemented from other customers of their similar industry. What I like to do is usually start out with a whiteboard approach, bring in our services team, suggest some of the things that similar customers in that industry are doing. And then with respect to that specific customer, let's plot them on a graph. And that graph is very simple when it comes to X and Y axis, right? One side is the business value and the other side is the technical lift. So what we really want to be focusing on is the use cases that bring the most value to the business, that have the least challenges in terms of implementing across the organization. So for an example, many of our Dell AI factories come with the NVIDIA software, the NVIDIA Enterprise Workbench, and that gives your data scientists the ability to import all of the data into your chatbot to make it more accurate for your organization, and then push that inference to an internal website through API calls. And so we know that because you can bring in a lot of your organization's specific data into the NVIDIA software that's running on the Dell AI factory, and then push those insights to an external application, you're able to maintain performance because of the on-prem cluster. You're able to maintain security because you're not giving anyone access to the actual data science software. You're just pushing those insights to a third-party application. And you're able to go after those use cases like automating the customer service function that really bring a lot of value to your business by helping your own customers interact with your organization better.
That's a great example of how real people are using this, because I looked at it from technology and operations point of view. They can do the customer support part of it, where It can be look at it, the agentic AI, as well as integrating them into the edge and able to solve that problem. It's huge on that. But now I'm going back to from the edge to infrastructure, as you see, because there are humongous data centers are being built with all NVIDIA GPUs and other solutions. The biggest challenge we are seeing is because of the high power of these GPU, they need to be cooled differently. They need to be maintained. And even the space are becoming, you have less number of servers are being deployed. So how are you guys addressing some of these with the newer technology from Dell's point of view?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because it is a significant challenge that we see and other providers in our space see across the board, right? And when it comes to a customer adopting this technology, it really is critical for them to have a trusted partner along that journey with them. Obviously, we can build different systems to different specifications, but what I like to tell customers when we're first getting started is that assume a 10% lift, right? These systems take about 10 times more power than a typical CPU rack. They put out about 10 times more heat. In several occasions, if you're looking to take advantage of the most cutting edge GPUs and silicon and the most high performant, large parameter, large language models, you would be looking at a liquid cooled system. So you might have to strengthen the floor in your data center. You might have to redo the layout to make sure that you have more space behind your racks. And most importantly, you need a trusted partner that can help you design that environment and manage it going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. 15 years ago, I did my second startup that was doing solid state drives, they are PCIe devices. That time, the maximum power was 25 watts per card. And then when we tried to push it to 75 watts, everybody's like, no way it can be and done that. Now we are talking about 200 to 600 watts solutions going into this one. It is amazing. But the good thing about is with innovation from Dell and your infrastructure team and the solution you guys are building as a holistic liquid cooling solution to make it work, while there are smaller solutions with other things. So can you talk about, are you guys looking at hardware accelerators beyond the big like NVIDIA and AMD and Intel GPUs? Are you looking at something else to come into play also on the?
Sure. So we do have a very deep accelerator roadmap that I'm happy to go into further detail about on individual sessions. In general, most Dell AI hardware on the smaller scale that ships today with GPUs on the inside will also be accommodating NPUs or neural processing units moving forward. On the larger rack scale, the big GPU clusters that are for a research organization or a large enterprise, those are moving to the liquid cooled systems where they have things like NVLink, so GPU to GPU to communication, as well as GPU direct storage on the PCIe board to make sure that we're accelerating the time of the data processing as much as possible. Dell continues to invest a lot of our top line back into R&D. And so we are committed to bringing the best acceleration to this market in terms of business value.
Oh, I think you guys have always had the third party qualification program where they can bring in their cards or their accelerators, and Dell does a great job qualifying them. And then we can, as an integrator, we can co-sell them together, integrate them and add value and all that. So earlier you talked about the security, because the most enterprises, the biggest challenge is, you open up these open AI, deep seek, and every one of them, what happens is they get into a situation, you throw your data, which is your intellectual property and your secret of the company, and how do you manage that? So how does Dell implement zero trust principle and data security for enterprises?
Right. So, you come to the classic conundrum of generative AI in that if you don't put your own organization's data in it, you can likely expect a model hallucination, right? AI and large language models are like a teenager in that they don't want to admit they don't know something. They just want to confidently give you an answer in the syntax of the natural language that you're asking the question in. But to put your own organization's data in for those specific projects comes with serious security concerns and implications for where that data goes. So it's very hard to understand the ongoing fine tuning and augmentation of that model when you're using an open source or a free cloud tool, right? Quite frankly, we don't know where the questions we're asking or the pieces of data we're putting into that are going in terms of retraining the environment. So Dell's solution to being an on-prem factory that you're able to see as well as secure from a zero trust perspective is attractive to a lot of our customers. When it comes to GPU environments that are running large language models, the zero trust principles are still the same as they would be in any other on-prem environment. So it starts with us understanding the use case, and we can bring in our services practice to really give some strategic consulting around this. But we're always going to advise least privilege access, right? So the less number of people that are both deploying the system and accessing it ongoing is always advised. We're also going to be assuming a breach at every step of the data pipeline. So we're going to try to segment data lakes from different streaming data sources into the inference of that engine. And then we're going to push the inference from that large language model to a third-party application or an intranet site or a SharePoint or your customer-facing website through API calls. So you're protected at each stage of that data pipeline when we move from data ingestion to processing to consumption of those insights. And then lastly, the ongoing monitoring of those data pipelines, the API integration work, and the overall system is critically important. So inside of the NVIDIA Workbench, which is just one of the software stacks that Dell provides for these systems, there are options to put guardrails around your large language model of the type of security questions you can ask to the large language model, as well as to fully audit the entire system to see how things are performing and monitoring security.
No, I think you hit those areas because enterprises, they have their private data and they need to be secured, protected, and having that guardrails from the day one, it helps them, navigate them and do that. So now is the crystal ball movement that what do you see the next wave of AI trend, next 2 years, next 5 years, next 10 years? How do you see this is going to transform the industry and how we can be a partner for this small to medium company? Because I'm always passionate about these people, small to medium companies getting destroyed by these big guys. So how do you help them? And what do you see as, the transformation going to happen on this area?
Totally. Yeah. I think when it comes to seeing around corners and predicting the next wave, like you're talking about, working in partnership together is always the best approach so that we're able to share all of the insights that we see across our customer base with the individual customers before they may run into those challenges themselves. Obviously, we hear a lot about generative AI in the news. We just heard about the DeepSeek thing last week. I think the exciting part about this technology is that the large language models are always going to be getting more performant and more efficient. And we expected that, right? That's something that Dell has planned for when we've built out our physical infrastructure roadmaps. We also know that GPUs and the underlying systems that will power these large language models will also continue to get more performant. With the advent of liquid cooling and correctly or poorly designed data centers, as well as the communication between different GPUs inside of a cluster, we can accommodate running much larger language models on a single system than we could in the past, right? But when it comes to how changes in this technology are really going to affect our customers or our customers' customers, say, going back to that bank example of the chatbot, it's really agentic AI. So you may have heard about AI agents in the news. And what that piece really means is that you're giving the AI permission in the right scenarios, of course, with the right security posture to go and execute discrete tasks on your behalf. So what that could look like for me as a Dell employee is, okay, it's very cool that we have the AI that listens to my meetings now, and it can transcribe that call and give me the notes afterwards. But in the future, through agentic AI, I'll be able to give that AI permission to go and send you, Ruben, the calendar invite for next time we talk, or go ahead and update our Salesforce with the notes from today's meeting, or even send out the case study or the PDF that we discussed on the call. So that level of agentic AI will give even more productivity back to the employees that are using this tool and give them more time to spend on the important projects that they're tasked with.
I think which is able to go and do a lot of these agentic work. And then there are two parts. Yeah, one of them is some of these mundane tasks, it can take care by itself, just like you said. The other one, it gives you all the information, it puts it together, even write the email, all these things. Then you can finalize it by just reading through one time, and then you can just send it out. So the product, when you think about a sales guy going around and spending time after a meeting, another half an hour, 1 hour on this, versus the tool takes care of most of the work, and then you spend 5 minutes just glancing through it. And I do that all the time now. Actually, I work with our marketing team, and we have this basic information coming out of it. And then my job is become so, easier, and I can focus on the high value part of the business other than spending time doing all these formatting and typewriting all this information.
Totally. Yeah. When we're able to reduce or automate as much of the administrative part of our jobs as possible, and we know we can do that in the future through agentic AI, it gives us a lot more time to be strategic and thoughtful with customers to make sure that we're spending time in the most meaningful way with them.
Andrew, it has been a pleasure talking to you, as well as, we appreciate Dell's support. Thank you for your time today.
Totally. Ruben, thanks so much for having me. And the thanks is really on our side, right? We couldn't help customers how we intend to without the partnership from you guys. And you have an amazing reputation amongst our customer base. So looking forward to chatting again soon. And thanks for spending time with me today.